to Book 101 about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She's an entrepreneur, high performance coach, and speaker, no other than Miss Vidya Ramanathan.
Well, thank you, Daniel. It's lovely to be here.
Welcome to Book 101, Miss Vidya. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Absolutely. So, I am a high performance coach. Thank you for that glorious introduction. And I have a background growing up in India. And my background after I came from India to the United States was mainly as in corporate, as a tech entrepreneur. And from that, I really, got to know myself at the deeper levels and became a high performance coach based on the work that I was doing until then. So I'm really grateful for this invitation and I'm delighted to speak with you today.
Miss Vidya Ramanathan, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, today, let's talk about your book that influenced you in your journey. Can you tell us about this?
Yeah, grateful to do that. So, the book that really cracked me open as an entrepreneur is a book called The Breakthrough Experience by John DeMartini. Dr. John is one of my personal mentors, and it was a when I met Dr. Martini, I was in a situation of really wanting to get into some of the deeper aspects of my own behavior and mindset that felt like they were stopping me from going to that next level. So I combined, my expertise of what I knew about the psychosomatic connection with the work that he does. And in reading the book, I really had some major epiphanies about what drives human behavior and how to work with it in a way that um, helps us to live the life that is most inspiring and fulfilling. So, the book that changed my life was The Breakthrough Experience.
Indeed, Miss Vidya. And how was your definition of personal transformation evolve after reading this book?
It's a great question. So, I think until that point, what I found within myself was that all my personal transformation was book knowledge. Like I knew a lot from reading and going into seminars, but I wasn't able to take everything that I had learned or read about and really look at it in terms of how I was applying it to my daily life. So when I came across the book, it was a very practical approach to taking, what you may have read in other books or even noticed within yourself, and then finding a way to understand your own behavior and how to actually move through some of the mindset and emotional issues that you're coming through in a very structured but rigorous fashion. So doing that inner work really helped me to crack myself open and understand the bigger idea of how to expand my mindset for my own success.
Rigorous passion indeed. And Miss Vidya, which practice or exercise from the book felt most impactful when you applied into your life?
So, Dr. DeMartini articulates his 14-step process, which I am actually certified in as a DeMartini facilitator. So, that 14-step process is essentially a series of high quality questions that are asked when we hold a certain judgment on ourselves or somebody else in our lives to really see a different perspective through those questions so that we can balance out our perception of the situation or event that might have led to holding that opinion or judgment on somebody. So it's a series of high quality questions and an exercise that walks you through exactly how to do that in a very structured format so that we can get to an aspect of ourselves that exists but we haven't seen within our own minds and tap into that deeper intuition to uncover that.
Miss Vidya, were there any parts of the book's philosophy that initially challenged your belief?
Oh, I think everything Dr. D. Martini writes is challenging in a lot of ways. He can be seen as very forward thinking in the way that he presents his work. But what's beautiful about my journey is that because I had a very strong psychosomatic background through yoga therapy and other work that I'd already done, I was able to see exactly where he was coming from in terms of the philosophy as well as the scientific and more mind body approach of it, and understand the value of it from that perspective. But I think that work is definitely about integration of parts, integration of shadow self. So it is definitely a challenging aspect of ourselves to look at it in a different perspective and have the courage to own some of the behaviors that we have pushed away and into our external world as somebody else caused it. So in his book, he doesn't probably use those words, but what he's really talking about is taking that self reflective ability and taking responsibility for ourselves deep within ourselves. So that can be very challenging. And having done that work for several years now, I can attest to that.
Very well said, Miss Vidya. Beautifully articulated. Have you experienced a breakthrough since engaging with the book?
I would say more than a breakthrough. I think I have experienced several breakthroughs, and it's not something I just did once and didn't utilize it at all. I've utilized it multiple times in my own life. I utilize the process and methodology in my client work. I utilize the work every day, and it has been vastly helpful in helping me live life in a more balanced and fulfilling manner. And at the same time, when there are very challenging experiences that have come into my life, for example, when in the last 2.5 years, I lost a lot of family members to death. And it really helped me understand the purpose of life and death at a deeper level. So I'd have to say give the book a lot of credit and also myself in that process because I was ready to do the work. So it really did is something that I break through with almost every single day. Yeah.
Miss Vidya, did any stories or examples evoke a strong emotional response?
Oh, I absolutely think that, the work that is proposed in the book will trigger the emotional response in any person. And but it'll also show us how those emotions are running us and how we can get to the other side of that by using that as the vehicle to open ourselves up to seeing things from a more neutral, rational, and objective perspective in life.
What old patterns or habits did the book help you recognize, and how are you addressing them?
So the book, it's one of the best questions to ask about the book. I would say that I had patterns in relationships that I had observed through my own childhood observation of how my parents functioned in their relationship that I was definitely transferring to my partners without even understanding that I was doing that. So it was a total lack of self awareness that was causing me to experience some of the uncomfortable and challenging moments in my own relationships. I also experienced things like doing too much or too little in relationships, whether that was professional or personal relationships. and then feeling frustrated and angry and irritated at other people for it. So doing the work helped me to see where I was actually the one sabotaging my own success and fulfillment in life, and take responsibility for that aspect of myself.
Miss Vidya, as entrepreneur and high performance coach, as well as speaker, if you relate this book to yourself, where can you relate it?
You mean to my own self? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
So where can I relate it? That's the question. I just want to make sure.
Yes.
Okay. So I would say it relates to all aspects of life, really. And so the idea behind the book is to understand what the core desires are in human nature for every person. That is a unique set of priorities, according to Dr. Demartini, and living according to those priorities. And when we don't live according to those priorities, it's because we've taken a value system that is outside of us and allowed that to come into our life. So, in my own life, it's really about looking at where I'm doing that in my own life and having the courage to draw my boundaries and say, I'm now going to do the work that I believe will be important for my future, my career, and having the courage as well as the grace and the humility to be able to communicate that in my business as well as personal relationships. So, yeah, that I would say is one of the biggest transformations I had that I continue to carry.
Very well said, Miss Vidya. Very well said again. How has the book influenced the way you approach trust, communication, or conflict in your relationships?
Well, what I have understood, and this is not just the book, it's the book plus the work that I've done with Dr. Demartini, plus the work that I've done in my past as a somatic therapist. I understand that everybody is guided by a unique set of values and priorities in life, and allowing myself to see that I have my own values that I'm committed to fulfilling, and the other people in my life also have their own values that they're committed to fulfilling, has helped me become more understanding and aware of what it is that is guiding their behavior or choices in life, and having the ability to not take that personally. So essentially, that looks like, having the ability to be present to other people for who they are and accepting them for who they are, even when it is challenging to see that the challenge is caused by myself within myself. So that I would say is very much on the upper echelon of what the philosophy and the values are in the book and the work. Yeah.
Miss Vidya, if the book addressed creativity, how has it reframed your relationship to creative block or self doubt?
Great question. So, in terms of creativity, a lot of times I think I have been personally influenced by what I believed I could do based on the mindset that I was adopting, and not thinking about the expanded view I could step into of myself. So, allowing myself to see and let go of some of these older patterns within myself allowed me to step into that next level of creativity, and even taking the steps to communicate that in ways that were unique to me, so creating that bridge between myself and others, and expressing that in a creative way, so that when we are, whether it's a professional relationship or it's a personal relationship, we are taking into account that there are two sides in the equation, and being creative in problem solving for both sides, as well as using creativity as an avenue as an entrepreneur in my own business to expand my business.
Miss Vidya, as entrepreneur, high performance coach, as well as speaker, what are your short term and long term goals?
Well, my short term goals are, obviously this year I've started getting more into podcasting and being more on the stage. Until now, I've been mostly focused on coaching and expanding that part of my business. So, with that feeling pretty stable for me right now, I'm expanding into coaching and, sorry, into speaking and podcasting. So those are short-term goals for this year. In terms of long-term goals, I'm looking more at international stages for speaking and expanding to living in about 3 countries. So I'm really excited about the future possibilities. Yeah.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Vidya, and looking for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be an entrepreneur and as well as a high performance coach and speaker?
I'd say one of the keys that I have learned in my life, and sometimes the hard way, is that instead of just pushing forward without looking at my own emotional awareness and relationship awareness, you know, I would say the key is to look at emotional and relationship awareness in any situation, um, and really using that as a stepping stone to being a better coach, a better entrepreneur. Because as an entrepreneur, the true game is about understanding what you do well and staying in that zone of genius and having the ability to delegate anything that is not in your zone of genius. Even if you have to do it for a little bit, that's okay. But finding a way to delegate that out to people who are really in their zone of genius when they do that work, so that you can surround yourself with inspiration. You don't have to feel like you have to control the outcome of everything, but rather step into being a true leader as well as being an entrepreneur and keeping that creative hat as a result, staying in the zone of genius. So I think that's key. And as a high performance coach, I would say this is, for high performance coaches who are working with entrepreneurs or business owners or even corporates, it's key to have the ability to not take things personally and rather help the client step to that next level of where they are going to be best served.
Well, Ms. Vidya, thank you for your advice, and I hope our listeners will follow them. Do you see the applications of books, ideas for collective healing or societal change?
Absolutely, 100%. I think that books are the key to increasing our awareness about other people's mindset, ideas, level of growth. It's our way of also expanding the way we see the world. And it's in my world, it's not enough to just read the books, though. It's really important to take the books to heart and look at the contents of the books and apply it to a personal transformation. So I'd say books are one of the key ways to transform if you really allow them to do the work that they're meant to do for you. Yeah.
Indeed. How does this approach differ from other personal development frameworks you've encountered?
So other personal development frameworks, it's not, I think they leave it up and open, in the air. So a lot of times the frameworks are not comprehensive enough to say, how does this apply to the specific individual who's having this experience? And so having the ability to personalize the experience and make it so that there's meaning to the person who is, having that experience. So, what I have learned through deep inner work is that nothing is actually missing in my life if I have the ability to open up my intuition and allow my intuition to serve my greatest good. So, having that ability to open yourself up to all the possibilities through your personal experiences and coming into that collective view of who you are as a person.
Miss Vidya, again, very well said. Beautifully articulated. What obstacles have you faced while implementing the book's teachings and how are you navigating them?
So, the obstacles I have encountered are mostly in the form of internal resistance to accepting where I have wanted to play less than. So, kind of making a case for I can play less than here. So, why would I play greater than when I can play less than, you know? But taking the teachings to heart is looks like why am I playing less than when I can play greater than in my own life? So having the courage to step into that and moving through those challenges, I think that would be the biggest challenge in terms of emotional awareness.
Indeed. Before we wrap up our discussion today, Miss Vidya, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast because my abstract essay is already in fifth season. Abstract poetry in second season, book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 second season, and food 101 in its fifth season as well.
Mhm.
Geography 101 love letters in third season, and my baby podcast Mental Health 101. My movie 101 and music 101 is in fourth season. Science 101 and sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them
Yeah.
wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Vidya, if you recommend this book to a friend, what warning or encouragement would you give to them beforehand?
Uh-huh. So I think the warning is you've got to be ready for the work. If you're not ready for the work, and if you feel like you're on the fence about the work, then you're going to go in with that resistance into the work. But if you're truly ready for the work, then the transformation awaits. And what I would also say is it's not always easy to grasp the aspects that are presented in the book. So it is, in my view, important to work with somebody who understands the detail behind the process and really use that. Although you can definitely start with the book, it will invite more questions. So it's great to work with a practitioner who has done the work and get deeper in that way, if that is what you're inclined to do.
Miss Vidya Ramanathan. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and knowledge to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your business itself?
Oh, thank you for asking that. So you can follow me at My Future Now by Vidya. That's Vidya, and that's on Instagram. And for your listeners, Daniel, I am very delighted to offer my 10 exceptional habits for exceptional leaders as my free gift. If they just DM me the word 10, I'm happy to provide that.
Yes, thank you, Miss Vidya. And I hope more and more and more empowering business to come. So, Miss Vidya, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure to be here.
More to come, people. See you soon.